Okay, so we got this transmission apart. I ripped it apart today. You can see the case splits in half. Now this part of the case here, this is the bell housing portion, houses the differential and also the two main shafts. You have the driven and the drive shaft. And you can see here, this is the driven shaft, and we have one synchro on here. And this is the extension housing that slips over. It bolts onto the back of the transmission, and it houses a couple extra pieces in here. This transfer gear and some bearings and other stuff like that. Now, the problem was first gear, and it just wouldn't engage. So we had the transmission sitting on the jack, and we were actually able to put it into first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and reverse, but could not put it into first. So had to tear it down and see what was going on. You can see here, this is the other half of the case. And as per the instruction manuals, there's sort of a way that you got to take this thing apart, seeing as it splits in half like this. You see the drain plug is here. So you lay the case down on its side. Once you remove the end cap, followed by a couple other pieces, and then that extension housing comes off, and then you're left with this final portion of the transmission. So you lay it down, drain plug side down. I undid all the bolts and I labeled them all, and then basically have it sitting like this, and you're able to take this portion off. Of course, the dowel pins got stuck on there, so you have to get in there and do a bit of prying, whatever. But this here is the driven portion, the shaft that actually runs. You can see you've got this shaft that goes directly through, that has the pinion that drives your front differential that is integrated into the transmission. And then here we've got this synchro here that engages second gear, and then first gear is up. But of course it's not going, so I've determined that the synchro is no good, and in order to rebuild that, you can see that we have an exploded parts view diagram here with all of the non-reusable parts marked with stars, and we've had to give them a call. Turns out that it's about $1,500 Canadian to get all the necessary parts and pieces, including the synchro mesh, the inner and outer bulk rings, and also I was going to replace first gear and this sleeve here, along with the non-reusable components such as these nuts that have crush points that they're locking nut, so they're non-reusable according to Subaru. You may be able to reuse them, but I honestly don't recommend it. And then also these bearings as well. There's bearing here and a double taper roller bearing right here with 4 mounting bolts that bolt to the case. And these things, I believe they recommend to replace these upon reassembly because they get damaged when you press everything apart. So this whole shaft, just the way it comes apart, you need some special service tools that are like deep, one deep socket for this, and then also some deep cylinders that you use to press all the pieces on. There is a note about assembling, if you go to disassemble some of these pieces, that you make sure you mark where everything goes on the shaft, and then it goes exactly back together the way that you took it apart. Otherwise things won't line up and you'll run into problems. So that's what we found. There was a lot of brass filings that were in the case. You can see here, you can see all the pieces of the synchro that are in there. So I didn't press the shaft apart today. I just basically put together a price. I looked around in multiple junkyards for used transmission for this thing, and they run about anywhere from $700 to $1,000. The ones that were further away, that were in a province over, run about $700, $800, but then you're gonna pay $250 freight to get it here. The ones that were an hour away, they're all $1,000, and they all have about 300,000 kilometers on them. So it's sort of a gamble. Is it going to last a long time yet? I mean, 300,000 is quite a bit, but maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. So either which way, just waiting to hear back from the customer. But I thought I'd show you guys exactly what was going on and sort of how I ended up taking it apart. Yeah, you can see all the bolts there, how this case is put together. That's this case here. And then, yeah, like I say, I'll just quickly run over this one more time with you. But so this is the end portion that's got the tailstock where your drive shaft comes out of. So you would undo all those bolts, and this whole piece just slides off. It's siliconed on, there's no gasket. And there's a shaft that comes out of there, that's the shift shaft. So that will stay in through this. And then this has your sensors in it, I believe. Yeah, so there's a neutral position sensor and a, I think it's a speed sensor, I could be wrong. And then also there's a reverse mechanism. That's this piece here, has a diaphragm and some springs and stuff in it. I don't exactly know the operation of what it does, but that piece goes in there. Loosen that thing off, and yep, basically just take all those pieces off, and then you're left with the main case. And then once you get all the bolts and everything out of that, lay it on its side, drain plug down, you can split it, and that's about it. Just try to stay organized if you're going to do this yourself, but it's not impossible, guys. So if you've got any questions, throw them down in the comments below. As always, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button.